Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to the second and the concluding session on Ashtavakra Samhita. I welcome again Shri Professor Prabhuji for the session. In the morning session, Prabhuji gave a very wonderful introduction to Ashtavakra Samhita, to Janaka, and also highlighted some important teachings from 2 chapters of Ashtavakra Samhita, and he will continue with that discussion. Before we proceed, just a small prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvamangala-mangalye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Prabhuji, please go ahead and start the session.
नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्धो सोऽहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवास्मि. Friends, in the morning we have seen how Ashtavakra enlightened Janaka on the nature of the self. Who am I? The answer for that I am Brahman, Nitya Suddha Buddha Mukatya Paramananda Advitiya Brahmatmanubhava Siddhi. That's what he created in Janaka's Antarangam in the morning. So Janaka has received the enlightenment which he wanted, and he exclaimed his experience of oneness with the infinite eternal Brahman as himself. No different from that. And that is a state of moksha. We have seen at length a whole chapter of Janaka's response. Now we continue with the teaching between the Ashtavakra and Janaka in this second part of today's lecture. Avinashinam atmanam ekam vijnaya tattvataha tava atmajnasya dhirasya katham ardharjane ratihi. Having known yourself as really the indestructible one, how is it that you, the knower of the self and serene, feel attached to the acquiring of money and wealth? Katham ardharjane ratihi. So a person who has enlightened himself with the knowledge that he is one with Brahman, he will not be much interested in earning money and all that stuff. That's why the liberated person realizes that all times and under all conditions, that whatever exists in the universe is nothing but his own self, with S capital, on which the awareness of the body, mind and universe has been superimposed by a process of conditioning due to the thought processes and the mind. The man of self-knowledge lives, moves and has his being in the fullness of his self-consciousness. He never remains unidentified with the self, and he will never remain identified with the body or the actions of the body, mind and senses. In other words, he will remain unidentified from the activities of the body, mind and senses, and is completely free from the sense of egoism. All his actions are therefore merely apparent and do not in any way detract from the supreme state. So this state has been explained for various top personalities, like including Prahlada in the Bhagavata Purana also, how he was apparently doing everything, even Janaka himself and Rama himself. and Krishna himself. Apparently, they are doing everything as if a normal human being is expected to perform. But he is actually detached completely. He has no attachment. Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vasi. Navadware pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayat. The self in this city of 9 holes or 9 gates actually doesn't do anything. That is only a adhyasa or superimposition to imagine that I do this, I don't do this, I like this, I don't like this. All this is part of the ignorance. All his actions are therefore merely apparent and do not in any way distract or retract from the supreme state of self-awareness and liberation. He may be in the body, but never for a moment whatever he may do is only of the body. The difference between an ignorant man and the man of self-knowledge lies not in the actions they perform, but in the consciousness with which they perform. To give an example, when you go and play, an adult like me when goes and plays with children, the children take the game very seriously. They may even cry if they lose, or they may be elated when they win. But an adult who is playing with children will not be affected. It is just for fun. He is not going to be affected if he loses, or not going to be affected if he gains. But many adults will make the children gain and himself lose. So in the same way, the Brahmajnani, Atmajnani, though he is playing this game of life, is not affected. That is how the Karma Yoga also comes into picture. So, Chaktva Karma Phala Sangam Nityatrupto Nirashreha Karmanya Avipravrittopi Naiva Kinchit Karoti Saha. Though he is apparently doing all the activities perfectly, Avipravrittopi Naiva Kinchit Karoti. He is not doing anything because he has no impact of those actions on his consciousness. So in the case of man of self-knowledge, this difference in consciousness is not easily perceived by the ordinary people. For outsiders, it looks as if both are same. Buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarvakarmani vidwan yukta samachara. So a karma yogi or a jnani will be appearing to outsiders as if he is a common man doing common things. Therefore, although the two persons outwardly appear to be the same, they are actually poles apart, North Pole and South Pole. So this truth is focused through the life of Janaka himself, who is fully established in self-knowledge. His conventional behavior is viewed from the standpoint of the ignorant man and from the standpoint of the liberated man in order to bring into clear perception the difference between the two. So in the rest of the discussion today evening, the difference between the ignorant man and the self-knowledge realized man will be brought out. The present chapter is designed to test Janaka's self-knowledge. So now, having claimed that Janaka has acquired self-knowledge, having been instructed, in chapter 1 he was given instruction, in chapter 2 he claimed he has realized it. Now in third chapter, Ashtavakra is testing one by one points in instances in Janaka's behavior, which could be deviations from the life of a liberated person, and accuses him of acting in ignorance. The next chapter will come as Janaka's penetrating reply, in which he ably meets the challenge from his teacher. He demolishes the accusations of proving himself to be ever dwelling in self-knowledge and completely unidentified with his own mental, physical actions, and therefore beyond the domain of value judgments. So, of course, this is a challenging issue even for all of us. On one side, we are told, you are Brahman, you are not Jiva. You are Shiva, you are not Jiva. Jivo naham deshikoktva shivoham. On the other side, you have to live in this world as Jiva. You have to go around, talk to people, do things. They go to toilet, take bath, go to job, go to various activities as if you are an ordinary person, Jiva only. So what is the difference between an ignorant person who is doing the same activities and an enlightened person who is doing the same activities? So that is where this issue will be brought out very clearly today. Atmajnanat aho priti vishaya brahmagochare sukte rajnanato lobho yatha rajata vibrame. Atma ajnanat aho, alas, due to the illusion of ajnana, the illusion of ignorance, greed arises, and attachments to objects of illusory perception from the ignorance of the self. To test Janaka, Ashtavakra is pointing out to him that his attachment to things of the world is due to his ignorance of their true nature, for nothing but the self really exists. A lot of people think that this is real, this is real, this is real, this is permanent, this is about so many things. None of them are permanent. Like the body, for example, is not permanent. And all the attributes of the body are not permanent. Like job, designation, money. Nothing is permanent. It comes and goes. We all know the only thing that is permanent is change. Impermanence is only permanent. So when the self is truly known, attachment to the so-called sense object ceases, even as greed for the silver ceases when the mother of pearl is known. So you are having greed for silver, thinking it is silver. But when it is proved that it is not silver, but it's just a shell, mother of pearl, then your greed goes away. Vishwam spurati yatredam tarangaiva sagare sohamasmiti vijnaya kim bhimaiva bhavas. Why do you run behind things like a desperate man, desperately, when you know that all these things which are appearing to be real are only the waves in the ocean, and you are that ocean, not the waves. So waves are not real or permanent. Self is real and permanent. Shrutvapi suddha chaitanyam atmanatmam atisundaram upasthe atyanta samsakto malinyam adhigacchati. Having heard from Shruti, having realized the Suddha Chaitanyam, the Atmanandam, the highest Anandam is Brahmanandam, having realized it, why are you hankering after other pleasures like sexual pleasure or any other sensory pleasures? Sarvabhuteshu Chatmanam, Sarvabhutani Chatmani, Muner Janata Ascharyam Mamatvam Anuvartate. So, a Muni who has realized the oneness of the self with himself, with everything. This statement is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvabhutasthamaatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. Equanimity of realization of oneness with all beings and himself. And therefore, the love, universal and universal oneness and equanimity, which is ultimate peace and happiness. Once established in that state, how and why there will be any attachment to any object or person or item, any attachment to anything whatsoever, like in the Upadesha Sahasri also, Adi Shankaracharya has declared this Brahmajnana should be given only to a fit person. And what is that fit person? Chakta, the person who has given up all attachments of Vitta, Putra, Shastraishanasya, having given up the attachment to Vitta, money and its products, properties and so on, and having given up attachment to children and their products like grandchildren, great-grandchildren, family, having given up attachment to all this, and finally having given up attachment to even the Shastra. You may be affiliated to a particular Shastra, Vyakarana Shastra, computer science or physics, whatever. Having given up attachment to Shastra, Ishana, Tyakta, Vitta, Putra, Shastra, Ishanasya, Paramahamsa, Parivrajikasya, and only to such a person who is a Paramahamsa and a Parivrajika, a sannyasi, to him the Upadesha should be given of Tattvamasi. Only then he will be able to reach that enlightened state. If he is having attachments, he is not fit for the Brahmajnana. Asthitah Paramadvaitam Mokshardhepi Vyavasthitah Ashcharyam Kamavashago Vikalaha Keli Shikshaya. It is strange, Ashcharyam, that the one abiding in the supreme non-duality, in the Paramadvaita state, and intent on liberation, which of course Mumukshu, like Janaka, should yet be subject to lust and weakened by the practice of amorous pastimes. Because amorous pastimes means, looking at amorous, sexually provocative scenes or dances. These kings used to do that. The kings were very amorous. They have a lot of females in their courts who will come and give them pleasure of all kinds, both the mental, physical, and all kinds of pleasures. So a king having pastime in such activities, obviously, is not of the self-realized category. Asthitah parama advaitam mokshardhepi vyavastitah. Aschariyam kamavashago vikalah keli shikshaya. Udbhutam jnanam umitram avabhaya atidurbalah aschariyam kamamakangshet kalamantam anusritaha. What a wonder! It is strange that knowing lust to be an enemy of knowledge. We know the Kamaesha, Krodhaesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapapma, Vidyena, Vairinam. They are the enemies of not only the civilized society, but more so for a spiritual seeker. The Kama, Krodha, and Lobha, these three are declared as the gates to hell. Trividham Dwaram Narakasya, Kama, Krodhasya, Lobhas, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, knowing that a man who has grown extremely weak and reached his last days should yet be eager for sensual enjoyment. Obviously, a person like Janaka is in his last part of his life, and many of us are also, like I am also. But even then, the person is craving after sensual enjoyments. Ihamutra viraktasya nicharitya vivekinaha ascharyam mokshakamasya moksha deva vibhishika. This is a very profound bullet arrow which Ashtavakra has released on Janaka. A person who wants liberation and who has given up all attachments and given up all desires. How come? Surprising. How come that he is afraid of moksha itself? That means death. An enlightened soul, when he dies, is liberated. Why is he afraid of death? So he has talked of cravings, sexual pleasures, greed, desires, and fear of death. All the standard negative emotions have been addressed. So the power of self-knowledge, Atmajnana, is a weapon, is so strong weapon that it can repel all such negative emotions, including the fear of death. Dhirastu bhojyamanopi pidhyamanopi sarvada atmanam kevalam pashyat na tushyati na kupyati. Feted and feasted or tormented, because in our life we'll be seeing both kinds of experiences, those who praise us and those who condemn us. In fact, when you see all this, the serene person ever sees the absolute self and is thus neither gratified nor happy. That is why Drichala Santushto Dvandvatito Vimatsaraha Samasiddha Vasiddhaucha Krutvapi Nanibadhyate. This is Gita again. So things should be taken as they come, both positive and negative, both praise and condemnation, or pleasure and pain. So because this person has reached the Jivanmukta state of enlightenment, he will not be affected. So in fact, Karma Yoga or even any other type of yoga is possible only with enlightenment, with Jnana. Cheshthamanam Shariram Swam Pashyanti Anya Shariravat Samstave Chapi Nindayam Katham Shubhet Mahashaya. This body which is operating is equivalent to any other body operating, because that self in that other bodies is also same as self in you, and therefore why are you perturbed or elated when somebody praises you, or why are you disturbed when somebody condemns you? So I was surprised to see Narendra Modi making statements repeatedly that when people ask him how he is having so much of strength to go around the country and the world without any fatigue, he said, I get a lot of strength because I eat every day 1.5 kg of abuses. So people go on abusing me. I eat all that, and therefore I become strong. So the same way, Cheshtamanam Shariram Swam Paschat Anya Shariravat. When you think your body is same as any other's body, and all the praises and condemnations are for the body and cannot be for the Supreme Self. Samstave chapi nindayam katham kshubhet mahashaya maya matravidam vishwam pashyan vigata kautukaha api sannihito mrityo katham trasyate dhiradhi. So realizing that this universe and even death are just Maya Matram, they are illusory. You are Brahman, you have no death because you never had any birth. The birth is for the body, the death also will be for the body. And you are not the body. Maya Matramidam Vishwam Pashyan, Vigata Kautukaha, having given up any kind of curiosity, Kautuka, Apisannihito Mritcho, even if closest quarters you see death. I have seen death in my life and I came out of that. And so also some of you might have seen. Kadham trasyati dhiradhi. If you are courageous, why are you afraid of death? All the Kshatriyas, warriors, they are not afraid of death. They go to the war, willing to die. Nispraham manasam yasya nairasyevi mahatmanaha tasya atmajnana triptasya tulana kena jayati. With whom can we compare that great soul, one who is content with Atmajnana and does not anchor even after liberation? A real Atmajnani will not be anchoring even for moksha, because moksha is with respect to bandha, and the self, which is myself, the I, is neither having bandha nor Svabhavadeva janano drishyametanna kinchana idam grahyam idam tyajyam sakim pashyati dhirathi. Why should that steady-minded one who knows the object of perception to be the very nature of nothing consider one thing acceptable and another thing unacceptable? Every object which comes to us through our senses or to the mind is itself illusory, is temporary, it is not to be trusted. So why should you have any likes and dislikes? Antasyakta kashayasya nirdvandvasya nirasasha yadrichhaya gato bhogo na dukkhaya na tushtaye. He who has given up the worldly attachment from his mind, who is beyond the pains of opposites and who is free from desire, to him no experience coming as a matter of course causes either pleasure or pain. Well, friends, in our life we face various types of experiences, good and bad, like you may get a job or you may not get a job, or you may get a marriage done or you may not have got that particular marriage proposal executed, or you may go somewhere or you may not go somewhere. You may propose sometimes, it may be disposed. All these situations are to be taken equanimously because it doesn't matter really. If you have gone somewhere to do something, instead of that something else was done, that is also fine. So because a Brahmajnani will not be totally obsessed or disturbed or possessed with any specific event in the life, and when he is prepared for his own death, why he should bother of others' deaths? Now, in reaction to these provocative statements by Ashtavakra, Janaka retorts saying that Khantatmajyasya dhirasya khelato bhogalilaya nahi samsara vahikam mudhaikam samarata saha samarata. Well, how can there be any comparison between a fool who is worldly and the man of enlightenment, the man of understanding, the knower of the self, who plays the game of life? He just plays Bhogalilaya. Even Lord Krishna was said, Ridavastvakilam Jagat, Shrutirajna Vapurjnanam. His every utterance is Vedic Shruti, and his body is full of jnana, and his life is a krida. Kridavastvakilam Jagat. The whole universe is a krida. The man of understanding, the knower of the self, who plays the game of life, has no similarity to the deluded beasts of burden of the world. To the deluded beasts, samsara vahi, kai mudhai sahasamanata. There cannot be any comparison with idiots and fools who were referred by Ashtavakra in his previous retorts or provocations. Yat padam prepsavo dinaha chakradya sarvadevataha aho tatra sthito yogi naharshavopagacchati. The yogi does not even feel elated, abiding in that state, which even Indra and other devatas hanker after and thus become unhappy. So even a great post has its own problems, has its own limitations. The Brahmajnani will not be hankering after anything whatsoever. That's why in the Gita also, it is mentioned very clearly, from the ocean, you can take out one small, vessel of water. The ocean is Brahman. Your small things are vessels of water. Tajnasya punyapapabhyam sparsho hyantar na jayate na hyakashasya dhumena drishyamanapi sangatihi. Surely the heart of one who has known the self is not touched by virtue and vice, just as the sky is not touched by the smoke, even though it appears to be. Aham akashavat sarvatra. Akasha doesn't get touched with anything, with so many objects residing in the same akasha. Atmaivedam jagat sarvam jnatam yena mahatmana yadruchaya vartamanam tam nishedhum kshametraha. Who can prevent that great souled one who has known this entire universe to be his self alone from acting spontaneously? The idea is the man of supreme realization is beyond all scriptural injunctions. Avadhuta is beyond all scriptural rules and injunctions. He is quite indifferent to all the prescribed laws, for these are all formulated for the ignorant minds. That, however, does not mean moral anarchy. The man of realization does not stoop to evil actions, as all evil propensities, samskaras, are annihilated long before the highest state of realization is reached. An expert dancer never takes a wrong step. So, the Atmajnani, Brahmajnani, Jivanmukta, he is not bound by any rules, but he will not break the rule either. This question was asked to many top people. Why are you doing puja when you are already an enlightened soul? So he said, I do puja for the sake of others, so that they will do puja. This answer was given by the present Shankaracharya of Kanchi. Question was asked to him. He need not do because he's already crossed that stage, but he will still be doing. That's what is in Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter also. Yajjad acharati sreshtaha tattadeva itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So to act as a role model, Rama also, he was liberated, Jivanmukta. In fact, this question a lot of people may not know. You take the case of Hanuman and Rama. Hanuman is an avatar of Shiva and he has got Ashtasiddhis. He is much more having powerful situation than Rama was a human being, who was a human being. Why is it that Rama selected, why is that Hanuman selected Rama as his guru? A lot of people don't know the answer for this. They may say he was avatar of Vishnu. That is not the point. Here the point is Rama was liberated. In the end of Yoga Vasishtha, he reached self-knowledge and therefore he was liberated. Whereas Hanuman wanted to take Rama as his guru because Rama is a mukta. So such a mukta will behave in this way. He will not be affected. The man of supreme realization is beyond all scriptural injunctions. He is quite indifferent, but he will not be breaking any law. Brahma stambha paryante bhutagrame chaturvidhe vijnasyevahi samarthyam ichhanichha vivarjane. Of the 4 kinds of created beings, from Brahma down to the clump of grass, Brahma stambha paryante. It is the wise one who alone is capable of renouncing desire and aversion. Both the opposites of desire and aversion can be discarded only by the Atmajnani, Brahmajnani, Jivanmukta in the entire creation, starting from Brahma to the grace of blade of grass. So many beings in between, they cannot dispense of with desires, aversions, and disgust, but he can transcend both. Atmanam advayam kaschid janati jagadishwaram yadveti tatsa kurute na bhayam tasya kutrachit. Rare is the man who knows the self as one without a second. Ekameva advitiyam brahma nehana nasti kinchana. And as the Lord of the universe, he does not find anything worth doing and he has no fear from any quarter. He is liberated soul. So now again Ashtavakra having received the correct response from Janaka goes to the next chapter 5. Ashtavakra Uvacha Nate Sangostike Napi Kim Shuddhas Chaktumichasi Sanghata Vilayam Kurvan Evameham Layam Vraja. Oh Janaka, you are free from contact with anything whatsoever. Sangha, attachment. You have no attachment. Therefore, pure as you are, what do you want to renounce? The self, that is I, is already so pure and so liberated. And what is that I want to renounce? There is nothing to renounce because I am already free from all attachments. Destroy the body-mind complex and in this way enter into the state of dissolution. Evam evam layam vraja. Enter into the state of dissolution. Laya. Udeti bhavato vishwam varidheriva buddhutaha iti jnatva ekamatmanam evameva layam vraja. The universe rises from you like bubbles rising from the sea. In the previous session, we have seen how Janaka explained that in the ocean called self, Mayyananta Mahambodho Vishwavichi, a breeze called universe, a set of waves called universe, they rise up, and a boatman called Jiva capsizes, the boat capsizes and he is no more. So the Jiva is an illusion, he is no more. Only the Atman, the infinity, is the truth. Udeti bhavato vishwam. In you, the universe is arising. Varidheriva buddhudaha. Iti jnatva ekam atmanam. Evameva layam vraja. And knowing this as the self, you get into dissolution. You get into laya. Pratyaksham apyavastu tvam vishwam nastyamale tvayi prajusarpaiva vyaktam evam evam layam. The universe, because it is unreal, being manifested like the snake in the rope, does not exist in you who are pure, even though it is present to the senses. Therefore, in this way, enter into the state of dissolution. So, in the self, that is myself or yourself, in the self, the universe is appearing as if it exists, and that is the creation of the mind. Manayeva, Manasarvam, and Ramana Paramartha. The universe which appears to you is arising in your own mind, and your mind actually does not exist because it is only a vikara of the consciousness. Chit. Samadukha sukha purnaha. Asha nairashyayo samaha. Samajivam mrityuhu sanyevam evam. So you get dissolved by realizing and by being equanimous to both Sukha and Dukkha, Asha and Nirasha, and Jiva and Mrityu. So be prepared for death as be prepared for life. Be prepared for hope as be prepared for hopelessness. And be prepared for pain as much be prepared for pleasure. You are perfect and the same in misery and happiness, hope and despair, life and death. Therefore, in this way, you can enter into the state of dissolution. We are affected by our joy and sorrow, hope and despair, life and death, as long as we consider ourselves other than self. So, well, friends, we may ask, how come this type of enlightenment is relevant in the common man's life? Now, Janaka was also a common man in the sense he was a king. A king has so much of responsibility, so much of threat, so much of tension in his mind all the time. But in spite of that, he became enlightened. So Rama was also like that. So when a person of that kind of responsibility becomes enlightened, he will be more effective, he is perfect in his actions as against an ordinary person who may be influenced by all kinds of emotions. That's how we have people like Hiranyakashipu, who had everything in the material world, but who were zero in the spiritual world. So in the same way, if any leader or a king or emperor, if he is enlightened, he will be delivering much better. And you can see that in some of the modern cases of persons also. And you can see, in fact, of course, the teachers and the gurus, the philosophers, they have to be enlightened in order to provoke enlightenment or, invoke enlightenment in others, the disciples. Like Ashtavakra, if he is not enlightened, he will not be able to make Janaka enlightened. So the guru has to be first enlightened. So the enlightenment is very fundamental requirement. I would say it is not a luxury, but it is a necessity. So a scholar, a jnani, has to reach enlightenment. That is his actual responsibility and job. And once he reaches, he can instruct others, like Ashtavakra instructed Janaka to reach enlightenment. Janaka was a king. And like Vasishtha instructed Rama, who was a king, a son of a king. So all the actions of Rama, whom we adore as ideal, are coming out of the fact that Rama was enlightened. If he was not enlightened, he would not behave the way he did. That he would not just go to the forest when his father asked him to go to the forest, for example. So that equanimity or sthita prajna lakshana is compulsory for any responsible person. Now, next chapter 6, Janaka uvacha akashavad anantoham ghatavat prakritam jagat iti jnanam tathetasya natyago nagro. I am infinite like space, akasha, and this jagat is like a pot, prakritam jagat. And having this knowledge, there is no possessiveness and no giving up, but only absorption. Boundless as space I am, and the phenomenal world is like a jar. This knowledge, so it is neither to be renounced, nor accepted, nor destroyed. So laya, the dissolution, is being talked about, the need and methods of emerging relative consciousness into the absolute. So once the jiva is absorbed into Shiva or Brahman, that is called laya. Laya yoga is also there. Mahoda thirivaham saprapancho vichsannibhaha. I am like a huge ocean, and this world which I see is like a wave in it. Iti jnanam tathetasya natyago nagraho layaha. So once this knowledge is there can be no possessiveness, no giving up, but only absorption. Aham tu shukti sankasho rupyavad vishwa kalpana. Vishwam is a kalpana. It is like the silver in the mother of pearl shell. Aham tu shukti sankasho rupyavad vishwa kalpana iti jnanam tathetasya natyago nagraho laya. He who has this knowledge need not grab anything, need not give up anything, and he will only absorb. Aham va sarvabhuteshu sarvabhutanyaho adhomayi iti jnanam tathedasya natyago nagraholaaya. A person who has realized that he is everything, everyone, and everyone is in himself. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yogayuktatma sarvatra samadarshana. Now chapter 7, the nature of self-realization. Mai ananta mahambodho vishwapota itastataha bhramati swantavatena na samascha asahishnata. In me, the boundless ocean, the arc of the universe moves hither and thither, impelled by the wind of its own inherent nature. I am not impatient. When the wind rises in the ocean, it tosses a ship hither, thither, and even through its impact sends it down. But the ocean is not affected by the movements of the ship. So this kind of attitude, perception is very essential in our life. We all know very well how we face all kinds of pulls and pushes, pressures and compulsions in life. And if you have to withstand this attitude of Atmajnana is very, very effective and beneficial. That's the only way you can withstand. Similarly, the universe which rests on the reality of the self is ever changing under the impulsion of the inherent laws, but the changing world does not affect the self in the least. The ocean is not affected by the laws of motion of the boats and ships passing in that ocean. Mayananta mahambodho jagadvichi svabhavataha udetu vastava Astamayatu named vruddhir nakshati. I am the ocean, which is infinite, and in me, this universe is a wave that comes up and goes down, and therefore I am not affected. Neither I come up nor I go down. Mayananta mahambodho vishwam nama vikalpana atishanto nirakara etadevaham asthitaha. In me, the boundless ocean, the imagination of the universe. Because what is the universe? If you ask a small boy, what is reality? What is Jagat? What is universe? He will give his own version, which is very simple. A boy will say, for a boy, mother and father of the entire universe. That's why Ganesha went around his own mother and father when he was asked to go around the whole universe. So it is a question of perception. So for somebody else, something else is universe. बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः. So when you are living in the world of relative realities, we are talking of the absolute infinite Brahman as reality, which you are. Aham Brahmasmi state. Obviously, you are not affected and influenced by relative pleasures and pains and delusions. Natma bhaveshu no bhavastatranante niranjane ityasakto spruhasyantah yetadeva hamasthitaha. The self is not the object, nor the object is the self, which is infinite and stainless. Thus it is free from attachment and desire. The self is all pervasive and infinite. It cannot therefore be contained by finite objects, such as body and mind. Because all objects are superimposed on the self, they do not really exist in the self. Aho chittam, aho chinmatramevaham, indrajalopamam jagat. I am pure consciousness, and this jagat is a magic. Indrajalam is equivalent to Indrajalam. Ato mama katham kutra heyo padeyi kalpana. It's a juggler show, Maya. How and where can there be any thought of rejection or acceptance when I know that it is a juggler's magic show? Now again, chapter 8, bondage and liberation. Tada bandho yada chittam kinchid vanchati sochati, kinchid munchati grinhadi, kinchid prishyati kupyati. Now when is bondage and when is liberation? Title of the chapter is bondage and liberation. Bondage is when the mind, chittam, wants something, thinks something, and grieves on something, or rejects something, and gets angry on something. It is bondage when the mind desires or grieves or anything, rejects or accepts anything, feels happy or angry at anything. Tada muktir yada chittam na vanchati na shochati, na munchati na grinhati na drishyati na kupyati. So that is liberation, when the mind doesn't hanker after anything, doesn't hate anything, doesn't get angry on anything. This is state of liberation. Tada bandho yada chittam saktam kasvam drishtishu. That is bondage when the mind is interested only in specific things. Tada moksho yada chittam asaktam sarvadrishtishu. It is bondage when the mind is attached to any sense experience specifically. It is liberation when the mind is detached from all sense experience. Yada naham tada moksho, yadaham bandhanam tata. When ahankaram is there, then it is bandhanam. When the ahankaram is transcended, it is moksha. Matveti helaya kinchit magrahana. When there is no I, there is liberation. When there is I, there is bondage. Considering thus, easily refrain from accepting or rejecting anything. Egoism is a bondage. Constituting as it does the identification of the self with body and mind, the egolessness is liberation. So let go ego. When there is no ego, there is no identification of the self with the body and mind, and the self is realized as one without a second, pervading the whole universe. Having this knowledge, one becomes perfectly tranquil and free from all desire or aversion. Of course, it might appear impossible how myself can be infinite eternal. And in fact, that is the only truth. I, the sense of I, which is constantly there all through. Bhavyadishvapi jagrata vipsada sarvasthavasvasvapi. In all states of existence, the only thing that existed was sense of I. And that is, what is that? It is attributeless. You cannot give any shape or color or form or name or age or time or description to it. So that is Nirguna, Nirvikara, and that is Pratyagatma. I am that. We all know this. It's a continuous experience we are experiencing non-stop from our birth. There's nothing new being told. In fact, the name was not there for a baby. The baby, after the child, will be told, your name is this. You should respond when somebody tells this name. Otherwise, he has no name. He is free from all conditioning, the child. So that way you can go on realizing that all these are imposed conditionings. So the unconditioned self is pure consciousness, which is in even space and time are imposed. So when space and time are transcended, it is infinite and eternal. Eternal means beyond time, infinite means beyond space. Now, what is detachment? Ashtavakra speaks in 9th chapter. Vrata krityecha dvandvani kada shantani kasyava evam jnatva eva nirvedad bhava jaga paro abrati. Duties done and not done, as well as pairs of opposites. When do they cease and for whom? Knowing this, be desireless and intent on renunciation through complete indifference to the world. Complete indifference to the world. Our life is a mixture of opposites like joy and sorrow, success and failure, and good and evil, and we always have preferences which cause us to choose certain things to be done and others to be avoided. Hence, our conception of duty. As long as we consider this world to be real, we cannot escape the pairs of opposites nor eradicate the sense of duty. The only way out of this state of things is to realize the unreality of the world and renounce our identification. Kasyapi tata dhanyasya lokacheshthavalokana jivitecha bubhukshacha bubhutsopashamam gata. Rare indeed is that blessed person whose desire for life, for enjoyment, for learning have been distinguished. Tyakta, Vitta, Shastra, Putra, Ishalasya, by observing the ways of men. Some people learn the hollowness of the world by observation. Well, to be very frank, if you take the example of Valmiki, Valmiki was a robber who was waylaying the passengers passing through a forest and looting them after even killing them if required. So one day when Narada met and asked him, why are you doing all this? He said, I'm doing all this for my family members. So I'm taking out the loot and giving to my family members, wife and children. So Narada asked him, go and ask whether they will share the sin which you have committed in the process of doing this, acquiring the wealth. He went and asked them. They said, no, why should we bother? It is your call. You did whatever you did and you gave us money. Whether you did it by murdering someone or by begging someone, it's not our call. They're not bothered. Then he got disgusted. Then he left. He got detached from his family and became a Rishi, Valmiki, after doing intensive penance. So the blunt reality is the people who are around you are not really loyal to you. In fact, that's what it has been said many times that, Yavat vittoparjana shakta tavat nija parivaro raktaha kasya jivati jarjara dehe dikha. As long as you earn money, people are interested in you. The day you stop earning money, people will start insulting you. And yavat pavano nivasati dehe tavat prichat kusalam gehe gatavati vayo deha paye bharya bibhyat tasmin kaye. Even your own wife will be disgusted the moment your prana stops in the body. And even much before that, if you are not able to earn money or give them what they want, they will not be interested in you. So this is the Mayama Aslam. Modha jahihi dhanagama trishnam purusat buddhim manasi vichitsa. So money is not going to save. The relationships are quite often selfish. Anityam sarvamevedam tapat trita dushitam asaram ninditam heyam iti nischitya shamyati. The wise man becomes calm by realizing that all verily is vitiated by the threefold misery, and its transient, unsubstantial, and contemptible, and should be rejected. What is the threefold misery? Pertaining to the mind and body, misery caused by the inanimate and animate objects, and misery caused by floods and earthquakes. That is Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Dukkhas. Kosau kalo vayakim kayatra dvandvanino nudam. Tan upeksha yadha praptavartos siddhim avapsulitat. What is the time or the age in which the pairs of opposites do not exist for men? At any time, the Ramayana period, Mahabharata period, Kali Yuga, right now, pairs of opposite always exist. And one who quitting those is content with what comes of itself attains perfection. So, you have to be ready to face the reality of what comes to you, and you can achieve perfection through that itself instead of hankering after things which don't exist for you. Whatever has to come to you will come by itself. For a man, no time or age is possible in which there will be unalloyed good and joy, unattended by evil and sorrow. He cannot therefore hope to gain joy and peace in the course of life's process. In the whole life, at no point of time it is going to be a perfect hunky-dory situation. He has to realize that supreme fact that the peace and perfection can only be attained by transcending the process of relative life and remaining unattached to the experience. So if you think that, okay, fine, after I earn, say 1 crore or 10 crores, I'll become very peaceful, you are mistaken. After that point, something else will be required. I've gone through this in my own life. I used to think that once you go to US and earn money and come back, then you don't have to earn any money, you don't have to do any job, you'll be at great peace. It never happened. I went to America and come back, but I didn't have so much money that I don't have to do any job. I kept on doing job, I kept on earning money. So this is an endless process. So there is never a point in life where you can lay back and say, all right, now I don't have any desire, I don't want anything, I am at peace. So this is the nature of this world. It is like trying to, find a spotless, pure, space when you are having a blanket with full of hairs in it in front of you. Nanamatam maharshinam sadhunam yoginam tata drishtva nirvedamapanna konasham nitimana. What a man is there who, having observed the diversity of various theories and opinions among great seers and saints and yogis, and become completely indifferent to learning, does not attain quietude. So it refers to the different schools of philosophy, the summum bonum of life being different in different schools. Those who have attained complete indifference to worldly objects and are solely intent on self-realization are sure to be endowed with this rare quality of mind, quietude. If you go to X philosophy, X guru, you'll get one version and you get trapped in it. In fact, we have situations in Hyderabad. I have seen in parks like Indra Park, people are standing there. One person is from Isha Foundation, another person is from Art of Living, another person is from somewhere else. They're all standing there, Ramdev or whatever. They're waiting. They're calling people, come, come, come. They're waiting to trap people into their own school of thought, entrapment, allurement, attraction. Why they have to do all this? Krutva murti parijnanam chaitanyasya kim guruho nirveda samatam chikva yastarayati samsrute. He who has gained knowledge of the true nature of the pure consciousness by complete indifference to the world, by equanimity and by reasoning, and saves himself from the round of birth and rebirth, and is he not really the spiritual guide? Only such a person, that is Srotriyam Brahmanishtam, he is the real worthy person to become a guru, not all the false gurus who are commercial. Pashya bhuta vikarastvam bhuta matran yadharthataha tatkshanad bandhavimuktaha Swarupastho Bhavishyati. Carefully observe, Pasya, Bhuta Vikaram. You see the changes in all objects. Bhuta Matran. Look upon the modifications of the elements as nothing in reality but the primary elements themselves. Because what are the primary elements? Prithivya, Pastejo, Vayu, Akasha, the Panchabhuta. The whole universe is nothing but these five made up of. However great or however small or poor or rich, it is the same five finally. And you are not any one of the five. You will be at once free from bondage and be abiding in true self. The body, mind, senses, in reality, all these are nothing but the basic elements, differing only in the patterns of combinations. The basic elements are the Prithivyapas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha. It is their patterns of combination that make us consider one thing beautiful, another thing ugly. Nari stanabharanabhi desham drishpa maga moha vesham etan mamsa vasadi vikaram manasi vichincha varam varam. But the moment we feel all things to be the same, all likes and dislikes will vanish and we shall know our true nature and be free. Bondage consists in attraction to body and things of the world. Freedom lies in forging that attraction, foregoing that attraction, and abiding in the true nature of the self. So Vairagya is fundamental requirement for Atmajnana. Vasana eva samsara iti sarva vimuchyatha. Tatyago vasana tyaga sthiti rajya yatha tatha. Desires alone of this world. What is this universe? Well, you see, there's a very interesting episode I have seen. I went to a conference in Bangalore where I had a roommate who was a psychiatrist. So he used to see that everybody is having some kind of madness. So one person came and spoke something and left. And then this man told me, that fellow is slightly mad. Another person came and he also said, this fellow is slightly. So every person, for a psychiatrist, every person appears to be slightly mad, psychiatric. Suppose you talk to a policeman, he will say every person, he will be looking for theft and crime and all that. Everything looks to be based on theft and crime. If you look at a lawyer, everything looks to be based on litigation. So if you, depending on the person, ya mati sagati. Suppose a person who has come into the city, once I just came new to the city, I had to find a house. So my perspective is only which are the vacant houses which are available for rent and which are not. That's the only understanding I have, the reality which I see. So for a young man whose sexual desires are provocative, he will get provoked with a woman who is attractive to him. His world is made up of only that. So if you are hungry, your world is made up of food. What food can you eat? Can you eat this or can you eat that? For a hungry man, that's why Vivekananda said you cannot teach philosophy to a hungry man. So depending on your conditioning, you will be seeing that universe. So therefore the universe is not real. All experience of reality is a conditioning of the consciousness. Vihaya Vairinam Kamam Ardham cha Anartha Sangulam. This is chapter 10, titled Quietude. Vihaya Vairinam Kamam Ardha cha Anartha Sankulam. Dharmam apyetayor hetuhu sarvatra anadaram kuru. Cultivate indifference to everything, having given up desire, which is the enemy, and worldly prosperity, money, which is attended with mischief, and even dharma, which is the cause of dharma, artha and kama. The three things, artha and kama, are very mischievous. You give up them. Swapnendra jalavat pasya dinani trini panchava. Realize all these days, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day, all these days are dreams, are nothing but dreams, nothing but magic. Swapnendra jalavat pasya dinani trini panchava. Mitra kshetra dhana agara dara dayadi sampadaha. What are those? Friends, properties, money, family members, and cousins, and wealth of all kinds, sampada. All these are illusory. Look upon friends, lands, wealth, houses, wives, presents, and all such marks of good fortune are a dream or a juggler show lasting only a few days. Yatra tatra bhavet Krishna samsaram vitti tatra vai. Praudha vairagyamaasritya vita Krishna sukhi bhava. Know that wherever there is desire, Krishna, craving, there is this world samsara, and betaking yourself to firm non-attachment, go beyond desire and be happy. Simple principle. You want to be liberated, then you have to give up desires. The moment you have desires, you will be caught up with desires, you will be in bondage. Because desire for sensual enjoyments leads man to various actions and binds him to the world for the enjoyment of the fruits. Firmness indicates the attitude of absolute non-attachment to the objects of enjoyment. Krishnamatramātmako bandhas tannāsho moksha uchyate. What is bandha? What is moksha? Bandha is nothing but Krishna matram atmaka. Bondage consists only of the desires, and the destruction of desire is liberation. Bandha tannāsho moksha uchyate. Bhava samsakti matrena, only by non-attachment, asamsakti, you can achieve prapti tushtim muhurmuhu. You can reach contentment. Tvamekas chetanas suddho. You are the one pure self, which is absolutely pure. Jadam vishwama asatpada. This world is jada. It is not intelligent. There is no chetra. And it is illusion. It is false. Avidyapi chikinchit saja kabhubhut sadhatapte. You are the one pure intelligence. The universe is non-intelligent and unreal. Ignorance also has no reality. So what can you yet desire to know? That even the desire to know has to be renounced is emphasized here. You should not desire to know that which is not real. It is the self alone which is real. In fact, Vemana is on record to say, what is the point of knowing so many things? We should know that which is deathless. And we should know that to be our true nature, self alone which is real, while the apparent world and ignorance that causes us to accept it as real are not really existing. So the world which is appearing to be real or believed to be real is based on your own desires, your own samskaras, and is your own projection, and therefore it is not real. There is therefore nothing else except the self which is real. Rajyam sutta kadatrani sarirani sukhani cha samsaktasyapi nashtani tava janmani janmani. O Janaka, you know very well the kingdoms, sons, wives, bodies, pleasures have all been lost in your birth after birth, even though you are attached. If you are attached to something, it does not mean it will remain with you permanently. You are bound to lose it. The common sense reason why we should not have our attachment or why we should go for renunciation. The transitory nature of the worldly things, even though we love them intensely and clearly, we will still suffer. We will lose them. Thus they are going to cause suffering. Therefore, it is wiser to not have any attachment on them. This process has been repeated life after life. What then is use of being attached? Alamardhena kamena sukrutena vikarmana ebhya samsara kantari avisranta bhum manaha. Enough of prosperity, desires, and pious deeds. The mind did not find repose in these dreary forest of the world. The worthlessness of all the human efforts, desires. Moksha is the only thing to be achieved. Of course, this is a Moksha Shastra and he is a Mukshu, therefore he will emphasize on Moksha. This is not Kama Shastra, this is not Ardha Shastra, and this is not even Dharma Shastra. Krutam na kati janmani kayena manasa gira. Dukkhamaya sadam karma tad adhyapya parandita. For how many births you have not done hard and painful work with body, with mind and with speech. Therefore, at least now you stop that. Now Ashtavakra Uvacha, what is wisdom? Bhava bhava vikarascha. So bhava aditi nischai, chapter 11. Nirvikaro gata kleshaha sukhena eva upashamyati. He who has realized that change in the form of existence and the destruction is the nature of things easily finds repose, being unperturbed, free from pain. If you think something is lost, somebody died, how long will you weep? Because in the nature of things, in the nature of everything, the nature of the body, death is inherent along with birth. Everything that exists changes and is destroyed. This is the nature of everything. Nothing is permanent. If one realizes the evanescent nature of things, one is no longer attached to them, thus finds peace. Mental disturbance and pain are caused by our attachment to transitory objects, taking them to be permanent. It is our own foolishness that we think this is permanent, that is permanent. Ishvara sarva nirmata nehanyayiti nischayi antargalita sarvashaha shantah kvapi na sajjati. He who knows that Ishvara created everything and there is nothing else here, he becomes peaceful with all his inner desires set at rest. He is not attached to anything. Your desires are the problem, nothing else. Ishvara has created Ishavasyanidam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. It is not yours. It can never be yours. Apada Sampada Kale Daivadeviti Nischayi Tripta Swasthendriyo Nityam Navanchati Nashocha. Realizing that both adversity and propensity come in their own time through the effects of past actions. He never contented, as all his senses ever content, under control. Whatever comes, whatever comes will come to you based on the past actions. It cannot be changed. So be ready to accept things as they come. Don't have desires or griefs. Whosoever realizes that this present life, with all its vicissitudes, is a result of the past karma, past actions, past life, is not affected by the changes of fortune. Sukha dukkhe janma mrityu daivadeveti nischayi sadhyadarshi nirayasaha purvannapi nalipyate. He who knows for definite that happiness and misery, birth and death are due to the effects of past actions, does not find anything to accomplish, thus becomes free from care and is not attached even though engaged in action. Purvanna nalipyate. Chintaya jayate dukkham namyadeheti nischayi tatha hina sukhi shantaha sarvatra galitasputa. He who has realized that it is care and nothing else that breeds misery in this world becomes free from it and is happy and peaceful. Naham deho name deho bodhohamiti nischayi. Having determined I am not the body nor I have a body, I am pure consciousness. Kaivalyamiva samprapto nasmarat chakritam kutam. He who has realized this fact that I am consciousness is for certain does not remember what he has done or not done, as if he has attained state of absoluteness. Abrahma stamba paryantam ahameveti nischayi nirvikalpa shuchishantaha prapta nirvitaha. So having realized that I am the self of everything, from the Brahma to the lowest blade of grass, Abrahma stamba paryantam ahameva, I am alone there, nischayi nirvikalpaha, he is not perturbed, shuchi, he is pure, shantaha, he is peaceful. Even in the Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter, it is clearly said, who will get peace? Sa shanti madhigacchati. That is, he who has ahankara, mamkara given up Vihaya kamanyas sarvan rumam sarth nispraha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti vadhigachat. Nanascharyavidam vishwam nakinchidapi nishchayi nirvasana spurti matro nakinchidivasham. This apparently divergent universe is nothing but illusion. It therefore becomes desireless and established in pure consciousness. Finds peace as if nothing exists. Now Janaka replies, Kaya kritsya saha purva tato vagvistarasa saha atha chinta sahasra madeva. I became intolerant first of physical action, then of extensive speech, then of thought. Thus, therefore, I do firmly abide. So, taking rest from extensive work and action, taking rest from extensive speaking, taking rest from extensive thinking, I abide in myself at peace. Pritya bhavena shabdade adrishyatveena jatmana vikshepaika evameva. Having no attachment for sound and other sense objects, and the self not being an object of perception, my mind is freed from distraction at one point. Thus I therefore firmly abide. When there is duality, as it were, then one smells something, or one sees something, or one hears something, one speaks something, one thinks something, one knows something. But when to the knower of Brahman, everything has become the self. This is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad being quoted. Then what should one smell, and what should you think, and what should you speak? So the thought process in the Upanishads, in Shankaracharya's works, in Yoga Vasishtha, and in Navadhuta Gita is one and the same as what is there in Ashtavakra Samhita. Samadhyasad vikshipto evahara samadhe evam virokya niyavam evameva hamastita. An effort has to be made for the concentration, and when there is distraction of mind owing to superimposition, etc. Seeing this to be the rule, thus I do firmly abide. Heyopadeya virahayam harshavishadayo abhavadya ye brahmanyeva evameva ahamastita. Having nothing to accept and nothing to reject, and having neither joy nor sorrow, thus I firmly abide. Ashramanashramam dhyanam chittasvikృతవర్జనం vikalpam mama vikshat evameva hamastita. A stage of life or no stage of life, meditation, control of mental functions, finding that these cause distractions to me, I verily firmly abide in myself. Karmanushthanam ajnana yathevo uparama statha udhvas samyagidam tattvam evameva hamastita. Abstentions from action is as much the outcome of ignorance as the performance. This is very important to note. So in this attitude or philosophical perception, there is no point in abstaining from action either. Knowing this truth fully well, I do firmly abide. Achintyam chintyamanopi chintarupam bhajatyaso chaktva tadbhavana tasmadevama evamaya amastita. Thinking on the unthinkable, one only has to recourse to form of thought, because the self is unthinkable. The more you think about it, it is only more thought process you are going through. Therefore, giving up that thought process, I firmly abide in myself. Evameva krutam yena sakritardhe bhavedaso evameva svabhavo yaha tardho bhavedaso. Blessed is the man, Krutartha, who has accomplished this. Blessed is he who is such by nature. Evameva krutam yena sakritardho bhavedaso evameva svabhavo yaha tardho. He is blessed, he is Krutartha, who has reached this state of perception, character naturally. Again, Janaka is talking about happiness. Akinchana bhayam swasthyam kaupinatvena durlabham yagadane vibhaya asmat ahamase yathasu. The tranquility which is born out of consciousness that there is nothing but the self is rare, and even for one who wears but a loincloth, that is kaupinam. Therefore, giving up renunciation and acceptance, I live in happiness. Now, he is talking of giving up not only things, but giving up renunciation, giving up acceptance and renunciation both. So we normally end up in accepting things and we talk of renouncing things. Janaka is not talking of a stage where neither you give up nor you accept. Na tyago na graho layaha. You are in yourself absorbed. Kutrapi khedaha kayasya jihva kutrapi vidyate manah kutrapi tatyaktva purusharthe sthita sukham. There is trouble of the body here, there is trouble of tongue there, and there is trouble of mind elsewhere. And renounce these. Because all our problems are coming from this, from the body, from the tongue, and from the mind. Having renounced this in life's supreme goal, I live happy. If I have renounced my seeking of pleasure in my body or in my words or in my tongue or in my mind, then I am liberated. The application of body, speech, and mind for self-realization presupposes imperfection. The self has not yet been realized. This is a period of struggle. Cessation of striving and complete detachment come from the complete self-realization. Being established in the perfection of the eternal self, the seer knows himself as distinct from all his actions, physical, vocal, and mental, and is therefore completely detached and truly inactive. Krutam kimapi naiva syaditi sannitya tattvataha nischintya tattvataha yada yat kartumayati tat krutva se yatha sukham. Fully realizing that nothing whatsoever is really done by the self. This is what is told in the Gita also. Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vasi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karaya. A person who wants to be at peace and happiness will give up all actions mentally. Because in this body, the self actually does not do anything, though it appears to be doing. Na kartrutvam na karma cha lokasya srijati prabhu na karmaphala samyogancha svabhavastu pravartate. The self is not inherently, naturally having attachment or ownership or responsibility. It is ever free. Jivanmukta. Karma naishkarmya nirbandha bhava dehastha yoginaha samyoga viyoga viraha ahamase yathasu. The yogis who are attached to their body insist upon action or inaction. Owing to the absence of association and dissociation, I live happy. Neither giving up nor possessing, I live happily. Ardhanardho name sthitya gatyana shayanena va tishtan gachan swapan tasmad ahamase yathasu. Is also there in the Gita 5th chapter. Pralapan Visajan Sishtan Unmishan Nimishan Nabi Indriya and Indriyartheshu Vartante Dharayan. No good or evil accrues to me by staying, going, or sleeping. So whether I stay, go, or sleep, I live happily. So long as one is inside the body attachment, one does various actions, but they make no difference to the inner consciousness of the man, self-knowledge, as they do in the case of ignorant man. Swapato nasti me hanihi siddhiri annavatto nava nashodlaso vihaya asmat ahamase dhasukam. I do not lose by sleeping, nor I gain by striving, nor so giving up thoughts of loss and elation. I live happy. Equanimity. Sukhadukha rupanam niyamam bhaveshu alokya bhurishaha shubhashubhe vihaya asmat ahamase yathasukam. Observing again and again, the inconsistency of pleasure and pain under different circumstances. I have renounced good and evil. I live happy. Good and evil are associated in our minds with happiness and sorrow. We seek good and avoid evil in order to be happy. Sukhanushayi ragaha dukkhanushayi dveshaha, Patanjali also said. But one who has realized that happiness and sorrow are really the products of circumstances, changing with their changes, and are not of the eternal self, The self is not changing, no longer cares for good or evil, and remains established in the self, in which alone there is real and absolute happiness. Tranquility. Janaka uvacha prakritya shunyachittoyah pramadad bhava bhavitah nidrito bodhateva kshina samsmarano hisaha. He verily has recollections of worldly life exhausted, who is empty-minded by nature, who thinks of sense objects involuntarily, and who is, as it were, awake, though sleep. So, prakritya shunya chittoyaha, by nature, a blank in the mind, pramadad bhava bhavana, and by accident indulges in thought process, nidrito bodhateva, like somebody who was waken up while sleeping. Such a person, kshina samsmarane saha. क्वधनानि क्वमित्राणि क्वमे विषयदस्य वः क्वशास्त्रं क्वच विज्ञानं यदा मे गलिता स्पृहा. What kinds of monies or funds or riches, what kind of friends or enemies, what kind of sense objects, what shastras and what vijnana. I have lost interest in everything, and desire has melted away, and where are then my riches and my friends? Where are the robbers in the form of sense objects? Where are the scriptures and where is knowledge? Vijñāte sakshi purushe paramatmani chaishware nairashye bandhamokshe cha nachinta muktaye. As having realized that myself as a supreme self, who is the witness and the Lord, and I have become indifferent to both bondage and liberation. Who has liberation? He who has bondage. Does the self have bondage? No. Therefore, it cannot have liberation. I feel no anxiety even for liberation. Because of the realization of the eternal, ever-free, ever-blissful Atman, the man of self-realization transcends all consciousness of bondage and freedom. It is only the ignorant man who wants to shake off bondage and attain freedom or moksha. Antarvikalpa shunyasya bahisvachandacharin bhrantasyeva dashaste tasadrishayeva. So this Jivanmukta astita prajna antarvikalpa shunyasya, he has no desires and thoughts and processes inside. The different conditions of one who within the divide of doubts and outwardly moves about at pleasure freely. Swachandacharinaha. Only an equivalent realized soul can recognize such a person, not deluded fools. Knowledge of the self, Ashtavakra uvacha yatha tadhopadeshena kritartha sattvabuddhiman ajivam api jijnaso parastatra vimuhyati. A man of pure intellect realizes the self even by instruction casually imparted. A man of impure intellect is bewildered in trying to realize self even after inquiring throughout life. Ascharyavat paschati kaschidenam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya ascharyavaschayam anya sroti srutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Second chapter Gita. Same thing. A person who is fit, who is of pure intellect, realizes self even by a simple input, instruction, casual instruction, like Ashtavakra to Janaka, instant realization. Whereas we know a lot of people who try to find out the truth throughout life and nothing comes out. Moksha Vishayavairagyam Bandho Vaishayiko Rasaha Etavadeva Vijnanam Yadechasita. In one shot, in one word, it is told, non-attachment to sense objects is liberation. Love for sense objects is bondage. As long as you are curious and having desires, you are in bondage. And if you have no interest, no desires, then you are in liberation. Vagni prajya mahadhyogam janam modhajan jadalasam karoti atmabodhoyam atastyakto bhukshuri. This knowledge of the truth makes an eloquent, wise and active person mute and inert and inactive. Therefore, it is shunned by those who want to enjoy this world. Natvam deho, name deho, nate deho. You are not the body and you don't have a body. Bhokta karta nava bhavan. You are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer. Chidruposi sada sakshi nirapeksha sakancha. You are pure consciousness. So, live freely, walk freely, liberated. Ragadvesho manodharmo namanaste kadach. Raga and Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, all these are the properties of the mind, and you are not the mind. Nirvikalposi, Bodhatma, Nirvikara, Swatancha. You be free because you are already free. Sarvabhuteshu Chatmanam, Sarvabhutani Chatmani, Vijnaya Nirahankaro, Nirmamastvam Sukhitva. You are the self of all, realizing self in all and all in the self, free from egoism and free from the sense of mine, and be happy. Vishwam Spratayatredam Tarangaiva Sagare Tattvameva na sandeha Chinmurte Vijvarogha. You are indeed that in which the universe manifests itself like waves on the ocean. O intelligence, be you free from the fever of the mind. Shraddhasvatad Shraddhasva Natra Moham Kurusvabho Jnanaswarupo Bhagava Atma Tvam Prakrute Paraha. Have faith, my son, have faith. Never confuse yourself in this. You are knowledge in itself. You are the Lord, you are the self, and you are beyond nature. Till one has actually realized the self, it is hard to believe that the self is really what the seer described to be, and that universe is really nothing. Hence, faith and grasp upon the ultimate, the condition precedent of the seeker of truth. So, Ashtavakra is impressing upon the true nature of the self. Gunai samveshchito dehaha tishtatyatiya ayati yati cha atma naganta naganta kimema anushochati. The body composed of the ingredients of nature comes, stays and goes. Self neither comes nor goes. And why do you mourn for it? Dehas tishtatu kalpantam gacchati adjeva vapna. Let this body remain till the end of creation, or let it die right now. What is there to lose or gain for me, who am the infinite, eternal, pure consciousness? In you, the infinite ocean, this universe is a wave coming and going. Udetva astamaya nate vruddhir nakshati. But the ocean doesn't have any effect. Tata chinmatra ruposi. You are pure consciousness. Nate innamidam jagat. This universe is not different from you. It is your own mental creation. Atah kasya katham putra heyo pade kalpana. This universe is nothing different from you. Therefore, how and where can you have the idea of acceptance or rejection? If we know the universe as our own self, which is pure intelligence, the distinctions of good and bad in the universe cannot arise. I alone exist. I cannot reject or accept myself. There is no instrument, the mind, for which rejection and acceptance. And there is no space or reality outside me when I can accept or where I reject. Ashtavakra urges us to outgrow the present limited, distorted vision. So this is the sum and substance of the teaching of Ashtavakra. Ekasmin avyaye shante chidakashe amale tvai. In you, who is pure infinite chidakasha, infinite pure consciousness, in peaceful, kuto janma, kuto karma, kuto ahankara, in that ocean of pure consciousness, where is that birth and where is that death and where is that action, where is that desire? Yatvam pashyase tatraekastvam pratibhasase kim prathak bhasate swarnat katakangananupa. Wherever you see, whatever you see is yourself only, just like all the ornaments are gold only. You alone appear as whatever you perceive. Do bracelets, armlets and anklets appear different from gold? I am soham, I am naham vibhagamiti satyaja. Giving up, you give up your distinction of this is I am this and I am not this. Sarvamatmed nischitya nissankalpa sukhi bhava. So realizing you are the self, become free and happy. Tavaiva ajnanato vishwam tvamekah paramarthatah tvattanyo nasti samsari na samsari. It is through your ignorance alone that the universe exists. In reality, you are one, and there is no individual self or supreme self other than you. So long as the universe exists, the self is conceived in two aspects, individual and absolute. In the individual aspect, it is transmigratory, samsara, passing through the rounds of births and rebirths. In the absolute aspect, it is eternal and unchanging. But the universe exists only through ignorance. In reality, the self alone is true. It is our own making that we accept our ignorance as reality and not understand the reality. In reality, the self is one without a second. The universe does not exist. So the distinction between the individual and the absolute aspects of the self is ipso facto unreal. This is self alone. That is Advaita. Ekameva advitiyam brahma neha narasti kinchana ayamatma brahma tattvamasi aham brahmasmi. Bhranti matramidam vishwam na kinchiditi nischayi nirvasana spurti matro na kinchidiva shamyati. One who knows for certain, definitely, that this universe is but an illusion and nothing, becomes desireless and pure intelligence and finds peace as if nothing exists. Eka eva bhavam bodho asiditi bhavishyati nate bandhosti moksho va kritakricha sukhanchara. In the ocean of the world, one only was and is and will be, and you have neither bondage nor liberation. Live contented and happily. Sa sankalpa vikalpabhyam chittam kshobhaya ma sankalpa vikalpabhyam chittam kshobhaya chinmaya upashamya sukham tishta swatmananda vigrahe. O pure intelligence, do not disturb your mind with affirmation and negation, sankalpa and vikalpa. Be calm and be happy in your own self, which is bliss itself, which is your true nature. Tvayeva dhyanam sarvatra ma kinchidati vidharaya atma tvam mukta evasi kim virmushya karishyasi. Completely give up even the necessity of meditation or hold nothing in your mind. You are verily the self free. What will you be thinking? So we have finished the 15 chapters of self-inspection, and I want to stop here and open up for a discussion.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Again, very wonderful, very enlightening presentation. Viewers, you can put your questions if you have any on the Q&A box, and we'll wait for a few minutes to receive any questions. Prabhuji, I think does Ashtavakra Maharshi also highlight the adhikara or the eligibility qualities? I mean, we know from Shankaracharya's works, for example, the notion of sadhana chatushtaya. So these are the qualities that is needed for a mumukshu. Does Ashtavakra also speak about, touch upon something like on these lines, or does he focus only on the?
No, he did refer, if you recall, a few minutes back, he was referring to Murkha, fools of the world, and even Janaka was referring. So the fools of the world who are entrapped in desires, running behind wealth, or running behind women, or running behind objects of the world. So he has referred to about a dozen attributes which are worldly attributes. So the approach Ashtavakra is taking is very, very blunt and very direct, and it's a direct attack. Of course, he is addressing, Janaka is not addressing all people around anywhere else. So he knows where Janaka stands. And that's why after the first instruction in the morning, in the evening when we started the discourse, Ashtavakra was provoking for a realized soul, where how can there be any craving for money, or craving for female, or craving for property, craving for kingdom, craving for this, craving for that. So Janaka replied, how can those cravings exist. So he negated. That means all those requirements are expressed in that way. So it is another way of telling the same thing in a very forceful manner, as what Shankara told, as other Shastras told, as Anand said. They are from the basics onwards. So this is a direct attack on each one of us. So the audience who is listening to Ashtavakra.
Wonderful. So basically, I mean, he does it in a very indirect manner, in the sense by saying that what all things one should not do or one cannot have. So he's basically telling the eligibility details. So
Yes.
that is a one.
In fact, he is asking, how can you have this?
I think if I remember correctly, in one of the Upanishads, I think there is a verse which says Dushcharitam, and I forgot the exact verse, but it basically says that one who has a Dushcharitra, who has not given up certain things, for him there cannot be no jnana. So I think that same approach has been adopted
Yes.
by Ashtavakra in the Samhita. We have not received any questions. I think part of the reason could be the nature of the discourse in Ashtavakra Samhita itself. Um, if we have to, if you have to pinpoint, that in Advaita Sampradaya we have Drishti Shrishtivada, there is a Srishti Drishtivada, and there is Ajativada. So, if in which of these would you say that Ashtavakra's teaching fall into?
It will be more close to Ajativada, though it is not declared as Ajativada, because he's referring to the universe as unreal existence. He's not saying universe never got born. Ajati means in the Yoga Vasishtha, when Rama asks a question to Vasishtha, from where this universe has come and where will it go? Then Vasishtha says, from where the son of a barren woman came and where will he go? Son of a barren woman doesn't exist. So that is Ajativada. So here it's slightly different. It's more or less same. This universe is your own creation. It is creation of your own mind.
So it is closer to Drishti Shrishtivada, I believe. It will be closer to Drishti Shrishtivada, or somewhere in between Drishti Shrishti and
Yes, somewhere in between, yes. Because what he is repeatedly maintaining is only you exist, only you, the self exists. The rest is all fake. It is, in fact, that fake, the word Maya is elaborated extensively by Shankara. Now, the point here is that you are creating your own bandha by accepting the reality of the Jagat. So, the Jagat is not real. It is within you. Whatever appears as Jagat is your own creation, your own thought process, your own mind. So see, that is a very simple practical reality also. Like, there are many stories given. Every person sees a different reality according to his own samskaras. So all experience of reality is a conditioning of the consciousness. Like, for example, right now if you ask, is Hyderabad cold or warm? Then it depends on from where you're coming from. If you're coming from a cold place, then Hyderabad looks very warm. If you're coming from a warm place, Hyderabad looks very cold. So it depends on your own perception. Like there's also a story where, a small boy was lost and he was rescued by some ordinary person. And he says, where is your mother? Oh, my mother will come now, will come, some people coming. And how is your mother? He asks, my mother is very beautiful. And so the man is waiting for his beautiful mother. Finally, one a half-blind lady with one eye damaged came. And she said, she is my mother. All other ladies who were very beautiful were not his mother. So they didn't look beautiful to him. Only this lady looked beautiful to him. So what appears to you is what you are coming from where. So if you are coming from a particular source, then that will appear so and so. So that way, it is the universe which appears, the Jagat which appears to be so real. And I also gave many examples. When I came to Hyderabad from a different city in search of a house, I don't have a house in Hyderabad. The whole of Hyderabad looks to be made up of only those houses which are available for rent and those which are not available for rent. Only two things exist. And for a hungry man, the only two things exist. One is hunger, other is food. Nothing else appears to be real. And for a satisfied man who is satisfied fully, and even if you give him the most wonderful foods, he will not be able to eat, he will not have any interest. So it all depends on you. What is good and what is bad, and what is beautiful and what is ugly, and what is real and what is unreal. So it is very common sense. It's psychology. All experience of reality is a conditioning of the consciousness. I told last time also 4 sentences. All experience of reality is a conditioning of the consciousness. And the true nature of reality cannot be known or experienced unless and until all conditioning is eliminated. And what is the nature of the consciousness? Who am I? I am so and so, I am so and so, I am so and so. All this is also conditioning only. So the true nature of consciousness also cannot be known or experienced unless and until all conditioning is eliminated. And finally, if and when, if at all conditioning is eliminated, then the true nature of the reality and the true nature of the consciousness will into one, because there cannot be two. So from these 4 sentences, you can derive the Advaita Vedanta or yoga. In yoga, the conditioning is chitta. In Vedanta, the conditioning is maya, and reality is Brahman. And so you can derive all the Mahavakyas from the same model. So you see, basically, all these people are telling the same thing, whether it is Ashtavakra Samhita, or Shankaracharya, Yoga, or Advaita Gita, or even Bhagavad Gita, or the Upanishads. All are telling the same thing in different ways. Sometimes it's not so different. It is very obvious they're repeating the same thing. So this is not so difficult. It is not impossible to understand or to grasp and assimilate. What is required is to imbibe into ourselves this knowledge once it is told. In Ashtavakra Samhita, it is told very bluntly and effectively and powerfully. Instead of going round and round, he tells very directly and bluntly.
Wonderful.
The same thing.
Wonderful. Another question is, one of the question we have received is, are there any commentaries on Ashtavakra Gita, and what is a good translation of Ashtavakra Gita?
Yeah, I'm carrying this book with me, which I covered today. This is the Swami Nityaswarupananda translation with a partial commentary by himself, belonging to the Ramakrishna Mission, Advaita Ashrama.
Okay.
And introduction given by Satkari Arji in a very profound manner. This is published by Ramakrishna Math, the Advaita Ashrama in Ramakrishna Mission. Of course, you just go to Ramakrishna Mission, look for Ashtavakra Samhita, you get.
But are there any Sanskrit commentaries on Ashtavakra Gita? Are you aware?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. Oh. Actually, the word Ashtavakra Gita, Ashtavakra Samhita, both words are there. Both may be same. Yeah. Not to my knowledge, any commentaries. And also, equivalent texts which are very powerful, profound, direct impact Advaita texts are Rubhu Gita and Avadhuta Gita. So maybe next time we will cover Avadhuta Gita. So yeah. Rubhu Gita is even more powerful. In Rubhu Gita, he says, Brahman is neither Saguna nor Nirguna. It is Nishpratiyogika. It is undefinable. So Avadhuta Gita is very forcible, even more forcible than the Ashtavakra Samhita. So we will probably take a session on Avadhuta Gita sometime next.
Definitely. On this note, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful session, a wonderful introduction to Ashtavakra Samhita. I'm sure many of our listeners who will be watching it, even when we upload on our YouTube channel, a lot of very serious seekers and students watch our sessions. So I'm sure many of them will look into this text in a more deeper manner, will engage with it in the coming times. So thank you for a very wonderful introduction to a very wonderful text. Thank you very much. Viewers, with this we end today's session. We'll meet next time. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Shri Gurubhyo Namah.